And now it's time for No Fence Riding, sponsored by the Fort Worth Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Time now for everyone's favorite game, No Fence Riding. The concept is simple. As usual, I have two statements for our panel. It's up to them to pick which side of the fence they're on, either positive or negative. And it's time to return to an old question that Mike and I have been debating on and off for the last few weeks. Our first statement: this is the best year in Dallas sports history. Now, before I open this up to the rest of the panel, we need to get a little more nuanced here. I'll set some stats. We'll start with this one. There have only been 8 titles in DFW's professional sports history, which means there's only 7 years, I feel like, that are up for debate in this question. The rest of it is up to you guys. Is there anything you think stands up to this? Because I can think of 2 years, and I think this year wipes the floor with them, Mike.
I now think the answer is yes. I think when you asked this question in the first round and we hadn't seen the Mavs or Stars do anything
It wasn't even the first
yet,
round.
It was the first. Had we
No,
not
it
even
was
started
right
the first
It
round?
was right before the first round.
Oh, good Lord.
All right, fine. We'll get into that. Sean, what's your
The
first
argument
thought?
back then was simple.
Fine.
The Cowboys' 5 championships in this town, they matter more than any of the other teams. They were way above any of those other years. Now, with a championship and the other 3 teams,
we already had the
certainly 2 of
championship
them
when we had the discussion
having,
last time.
I
Is my
know
point.
that.
Yes.
I know that, but now you've had the Mavs go to the finals and the Stars go to the West Final. Now, I'm with you.
Okay, Sean, what do you think?
I think this is the best year just because you had both tenants of the American Airlines Center go to the conference final for the first time in the same year ever. You're on the heels of the World Series, which I will argue in some ways, maybe not always, but in some ways is more outstanding and rare than a Cowboys Super Bowl championship. And keep in mind, the Cowboys did win a dozen games and they flamed out in the playoffs, but a playoff year is always a good year no matter what.
Michelle, your thoughts? You've only been here for a little bit, but I'm curious what you were thinking.
Well, I would just like to start with, this is not necessarily everyone's favorite concept, but it's fine. I'm, by definition, a fence rider. I stay right down the middle. Is it the best year in Dallas sports? Yeah, because I'm here to watch it all happen.
That's the best possible
Welcome
answer.
to town,
That's
Michelle.
That's the best possible answer we get. I did not expect 3 yeses on this panel, but I'm still going to roll down the stats for you anyway. This is the first time since 2016 and only the second time ever that all 4 of the primary 4 sports teams, the Cowboys, Stars, Mavericks, and Rangers, all made the playoffs. In 2016, the only team to make it to the second round was the Stars. The rest of this, I think, kind of speaks for itself, but when you factor in not only the playoff runs, but the drama of a lot of those runs, the Mavs wins in Game 6, the Stars winning late that night to clinch it for both teams. There was so much that went into it, and of course the magic of the Rangers win. I understand that everyone wants to put the Cowboys on a pedestal, but there is something about that first win, that first championship for a franchise, that makes a significant difference and at least elevates it to the stratosphere of a Cowboys back-to-back title.
So and honestly, the only year that comes close in my mind was 2011, simply because the Mavericks and Dirk won his title, and we saw the Rangers, we know how Game 6 went in St. Louis, but that was also a magical
They at least
summer.
went.
Right. Now,
well, and that year you also had the Super Bowl here in
Yes.
town, so that elevates that year. The problem with any of the Cowboys' 5 Super Bowls, nobody else did anything. Two of the teams didn't even exist for almost all of them.
Right.
The Rangers were terrible forever. The Mavs were terrible for most of that stretch.
Can I jump in here real quick?
93,
on the Mavs,
the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl and adding the Stars, that's
Fair.
a decent contender, but I think 11 is the other real contender.
Right. The Mavs specifically, in 92 and 93, when the Cowboys went back-to-back, the Cowboys won more games than both of those seasons combined.
Yeah.
The Mavs had
they
11
did.
wins and 13 wins in back-to-back years out of an 82-game schedule. So, like,
Yeah.
I know we're not talking negatives in this kind of conversation, but at the same time, like, that has to be a huge detriment if you're talking about it as sum total. So when I looked at this about 2 months ago when the playoffs started, you had the best season in Rangers history. And I'm including all professional sports here. The best season in Wings history. All 4 teams made the playoffs. FC Dallas made the playoffs. I mean, it was already up there as far as top 3.
It was
no questions asked.
up there.
Right.
It just wasn't a yes
Now,
then.
but-
It is now.
But here's the thing. A lot of the things that happened in the regular season, for instance, all the Rangers in the All-Star game being on the field at the same time, Luka's 73, bring me to this next topic, which is the cornerstone of my initial argument. Fans do not value regular season accomplishments enough. And I will start this with an observation that I made, because everyone likes to point to football as the be-all and end-all. I went back and checked the NFL Top 100 rankings for top 100 plays and top 100 games. How many of the plays in the top 100 do you guys think, and I'll go down the line here really quick, how many of the top 100 plays were from the regular season versus the playoffs? Mike, we'll start with you. Out of 100.
30 and 70.
Okay. Sean, what do you think?
Well, no, there's not enough games for that to be
I
the
would
case.
say it's like
45,
25%
55.
regular season, probably.
Okay, 25% regular season. Michelle, what do you think?
I was going to go 30%, 30-70 split.
Okay, in the top 100 plays, 49 of them were from the regular season.
Okay, so my second guess of 45-55 was a lot closer.
Fair. And in terms of the games themselves, they took up 25% of it. So that's more closer to what you guys are talking about. But game versus play kind of brings me to my central argument, which is the regular season accomplishments, things that happen in there, do matter. We're going to look back on this Mavs run, and there have been some great moments in the playoffs, but Luka's 73, everyone's going to remember Kyrie's buzzer beater against the Nuggets, and like 20 years down the line, we're going to look at it and think, that's right, that wasn't actually a playoff series. Sean, what do you think of this?
I mean, just go to the Mavericks. We had a game where they set a franchise record for dunks against Utah. I mean, there was plenty of great moments. The Stars had a lot of dramatic moments in their regular season, too. And as far as, like what I was saying a few minutes ago, I think every season that results in going to the postseason, no matter what heartbreak or failure you have in the postseason, a regular season that ends in the playoffs is good. Bottom line, period. And I feel like going back to the Cowboys flame out, 12 wins is still 12 wins. I don't think Mike McCarthy should have, lost his job for what happened against Green Bay. I took a lot of flack for saying that on the air the Monday after it happened. But playoff years are good years, and if we keep building up playoff years in this town, we're going to have a stretch maybe like Boston had a few years ago if things fall right.
We got to wrap it up here, but I will say this real quick to wrap things. The answer to your question is yes, because otherwise you'd be rather devoid of joy in this town.
100%.
Rangers finally got there and got one, but do you want to just be sad all the time? We'll be right back.
This is the definition of a quick wrap.
Thanks to our guests, our panel. Fantastic as always.